And hello again, everyone. I'm Terry Gannon. We're glad you're with us as we kick off our coverage of the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships from Nashville. Tonight is the original dance and the pairs short program. We'll be with you again Friday night and Saturday afternoon on ESPN and The Deuce. And it all leads up to our live coverage of the ladies' finals along with the pairs Saturday night. And on Sunday afternoon, the ice dancing and men's finals. All of that will be on ABC's Wide World of Sports. In all, 11 hours of figure skating coverage this week from Nashville. With me, of course, is seven-time U.S. champion Dick Button. And Dick, here in the ice dancing competition, we have a chance to see Elizabeth Punsalan and Jared Swallow go after their fourth national title in a discipline that is very different than the other ones. What should we look for?
Well, what you're looking for are two people that really like to dance, not unlike you and your wife that might like to get up on a dance floor and perform on Saturday night. The only difference is that they're on ice, and they're very good, and probably what they're doing is far more difficult.
That's a good bet, yes.
At any rate, what we're seeing is a three-part competition. This is the second part. First, there were compulsory dances. Now there is a dance created by the skaters themselves, but it's very precise, and it's a tango. What we're not going to see is probably as important as what we are going to see. We're not going to see high-flying triple axels or pair spins or any of those athletic moves. Instead, the skaters have to rely solely on their bodies and their talents to create beautiful, deep flowing edges, wonderful positions, and a sexy or romantic tango. It's pure skating. It's musical, it's elegant, and it's the most creative event of all in figure skating.
And on the ice right now, in their first year of competing together, 20-year-old Julia Bigbova of Chicago and 20-year-old James Swanson of Rochester, New Hampshire.
Now, one of the important things about this pair is that he has just moved up, believe it or not, from the novice event. And that's a big jump, bypassing the junior event. It also demonstrates the really difficult problem of finding appropriate partners. There's also one other little thing to remember about him is that he's skating on an ankle that was just recently fractured. That certainly makes it a more tentative way of stepping on these very difficult turns and edges. I think if you look carefully, you'll see that his footwork is really not quite as intricate or complicated as it should be.
How difficult is it, too, for these couples who are skating together in their first year? It would seem to me in ice dancing it would take years to really get that unison together.
Oh, it takes that's why you see skaters in the events for so long and why they move up so slowly. It really is a very complicated, time-consuming dance. Very, very attractive couple. At any rate, they make a good picture on the ice. They're good.
We'll be back with the scores of Julia Bigbova and James Swanson when we return to Nashville in a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the Nashville Arena. The State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships continue. Julia Bigbova and James Swanson here in the original dance portion of the ice dancing competition. They await their scores. And the first sets of marks for composition, 4.2 up to 4.6 the range. At last year's Nationals, Julia placed 6th with her former partner, Robert Peel. Of course, this is the first season that Julia and James have skated together. His last trip to Nationals was back in '95 in the novice division.
4.7, 4.3.
And the march for presentation, 4.3 up to 4.7 for Bigbova and Swanson.
4.4, 4.6, and 4.7.
Well, even though they are the youngest team in this ice dancing competition, Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates have a very realistic chance of making a run at Punsalan and Swallow, at least putting some heat on them. They're in second place after the compulsory dances. She is only 17 years old, and he is 20 years old.
And they are an exceedingly talented and a fine young couple. I think we're going to see quite a great deal of them. The very fact that they are in second place at this point in the competition indicates that.
To the left of the judges.
And there is something on the ice right now. So that's why we have the delay, and they're skating over. Well, he's going to actually pick it up and put it in the stands.
I think if he hit that particular piece of flotsam, jetsam, whatever it is, in that location, he would have had more trouble with the boards than he did with what was on the ice.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Shalom and Matthew Gates.
Now, look already at how close they are standing here. That's one of the indications that we have not seen in some of the previous dancers. Part of the whole element of a tango is that the two are close together and are very, very tight. Like right there, there's a separation. But even here, you see how he holds her right into him. Not always quite as effective as it could be. But you can see the crispness of these edges, the lean of the body. Remember, ice dancing is all about edging, and edging is caused by a lean of the body.
Dick, this is an interesting couple on many different levels. He's from Baldock, England. He's not yet a U.S. citizen, so they are not eligible to skate in the Olympic Games. However, they are eligible to go on, represent the U.S. at the World Championships. And, of course, they're in second place. The U.S. gets 2 spots at the Worlds. Normally, it's the top 2 finishing teams. And we'll have to wait, depending on where they finish, and for the decision of the International Committee of the USFSA.
Look at how fast these moves are. How really crisp and fast the steps are. They're somewhat inconsistent with the weight, with the closeness that they have. Look, it's a little bit of a rough dance, but it's awfully good.
Well, they captured the bronze medal at last year's U.S. Nationals, hoping to improve on that. Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates. We'll be back. We're back in Nashville. Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates in second place after the compulsory dances. And here are the marks for composition, 5.4 up to 5.7.
And just an interesting side fact, she happens to be hearing impaired and wears hearing aids. A wonderful demonstration of what you can do if you want to. Now, look at these moves. See how the curves and the edges there. That's very indicative and very necessary. Of course, it's probably one of the elements in the dance that they have choreographed themselves.
5.6.
So they were in second place going into the original dance. The marks for presentation, 5.5 up to 5.7. So they certainly haven't hurt themselves at all with these sets of scores.
5.7.
And now taking the ice, a couple that many feel maybe the best rookie couple here. First year skating together at the U.S. Nationals. They were the bronze medalists at the Junior Nationals a year ago. Tammy Tyler and Jonathan Nichols.
And I think what that points out is the fact that this is a very strong young field in the national championships. There are many junior dancers that have moved up to this event this year. This dance must progress around the rink in either a clockwise or counterclockwise pattern. It can have two minor reverses during that, but what it can't do is come out quite this far on the end lobe of the dance. That would probably come very close to crossing a blue line. At least it appeared from this spot that they were almost up to the 20 yards that they were from the end of the ring. Now notice how far they're going out there into the center of the ring before they curve back. That's much too far, and if the judges see that or recognize it, it will cost some points. Remember, there's an exception to every rule, too, and that is that all of the skaters must perform a diagonal step, which does cross the blue line.
It does get complicated at times, doesn't it?
The list of rules of what you can and can't do is endless.
Well, they were in 8th place after the compulsory dances, trying to move up. 18-year-old Tammy Tyler and 20-year-old Jonathan Nichols will have their marks when we come back. And also the performance of Elizabeth Punsalan and Swallow going after national championship number 4. U.S. national champions in 91, 94, and in 96. They've stood the test of time and have gotten better. 7th in the world a year ago. And the leaders after the compulsory dances trying to capture their 4th national title, Elizabeth Punsalan and Swallow.
And what we're seeing is an Argentine-style tango, a male-dominated dance.
By the way, the marks for Tyler and Nichols, 4.6 up to 5.0 for composition. The presentation marks 4.8 up to 5.1.
Leg position. That's wonderful.
The national championship, Dick, for Punsalan and Swallow in a long time without their chief rivals, Rene Roca and Gorsa Sur, who are no longer skating in the amateur world. What is it that sets them apart so much from their other competitors?
I just think it's a complete unison between the two of them. They've been both married and skating together for years. They have a great quality. They are extraordinarily just complete. They use the entire ice surface. They're dramatic. They're explosive. They have a wonderful flow on the ice, and yet they're also exceedingly quick, and it's that combination that is very difficult.
The three-time and reigning U.S. champions and the leaders after the compulsory dances. Everyone expected that. They're trying to hold on to their lead. And what a performance here in Nashville from Elizabeth Punsalan and Hendra Swallow. We'll be back with their scores in a moment.
5.9, 5.8, 5.8, 5.8, 5.9, 5.9.
Elizabeth Punsalan, Hendra Swallow, their marks for composition clearly the best that we've seen. 5.8s and 5.9s.
Well, I think that you'll find that the reason those marks are so high, you can see right here. Look at the deep edges and the lean of the body. Now look at the quick steps. And all of this represents the tango character. And that's what makes them so good. And look at this tight footwork, interlocking legs. That's, again, all part of the character of the dance.
And how about the marks for presentation, Dick? 5.9s and 2 perfect 6s for Punsalan and Swallow.
Well, that really is, for them, a very good send-off. Well, it was a wonderful dance.
Now, here's a couple in 10th place after the compulsory dances.
California, here are
19-year-old Beata Hendra and 28-year-old Charles Cynic.
Some of these moves now are quite sharp, and some of the edges are all right, but you can see the difference between this couple and Punsalan and Swallow. You can also note the distance between their bodies.
Like Punsalan and Swallow, Hendra and Cynic are married. They finished third at the Pacific Coast Regionals this year. They are ahead of the other two couples who defeated them there, though, so they have to be happy about the way they've skated so far.
Was a diagonal across the ice. You notice it crossed the imaginary center of the ice, which would be a no-no for the rest of the dance.
Well, it hasn't been an easy ride for Hendra and Cynic. He was injured at this year's sectionals, trying to qualify for the nationals. Could hardly walk, but they were not allowed to bye. Had to go out on the ice and at least start their competition until he couldn't make it anymore.
Now, look at this slow motion here. That's a long edge, but it's not particularly elegant, nor is it certainly complicated. But these kind of moves are intended to indicate the character of the tango dance, but they're relatively simple in character. That's during the diagonal move that they do the length of the rink from one corner to the other.
And Dick, we mentioned the injury to Charles at the Pacific Coast sectionals. Beata also injured after that. Both of her kneecaps she's had problems with. She couldn't walk for a week in January, so they're coming here to Nashville at a disadvantage, but it doesn't look to have bothered them.
For Beata Hendra and Charles Cynic for composition. 4.7, 4.3.
So they were in 10th place after the compulsory dances, and their scores for composition 4.3 up to 4.7.
And that's probably about what they deserve. They're very, very attractive couple, though, and they make a good picture on the ice, and I think they have, certainly a fine potential.
Wide range of age. She's only 19 and he is 28 years old.
And now the march for presentation.
Beata from San Rafael, California. Charles from Lexington, Massachusetts. And they skate out of Linwood, Washington.
4.6.
And the marks for presentation 4.5 up to 4.7 here in the original dance.
4.7.
And on the ice right now, the couple in 8th place after the compulsory dances, 17-year-old Margot Cantoy and 24-year-old Robert Peel. It's interesting, both of these skaters were competing with other partners a year ago. Margot did not qualify for the Nationals, while Robert was in San Jose with Julia Bigbova, who we already saw earlier in this competition. Margot was looking for a new partner. She posted an ad on America Online and found Robert.
Look at how nice and close that element was, the curve that they made on the right. She certainly is a very beautiful looking dancer. Has excellent legs for dancing, beautiful extensions and turnout. And even though they're a very new team, there's quite a bit of close dancing between their upper bodies.
I think another aspect that is not really a concern in pairs, but is very much in ice dancing, the relationship in terms of both of their heights and sizes.
The appropriate bodies make for beautiful pictures. If one is taller than the other, or if they're not particularly lithe and lean and elegant, certainly the picture isn't as pretty as it could be.
Their first year together, she from Marquette, Michigan, he from Chicago, Margot Cantoy and Robert Peel will have their marks when we return to Nashville. They won the Midwestern Sectionals to earn their spot here at the National Championships. Naomi Lang and Peter Chernayshev in their first year competing together.
Notice how cat-like this is. The slow, very deep edges. It's not frantic. This is a continental tango.
Chernayshev is 26 years old, and he is from St. Petersburg, Russia. And Dick, it's one of the things we see in ice dancing. There is a bit of a shortage of U.S. men going into this discipline.
3 of the top 6 here at this point are non-American skaters. And I think that this couple is an exceedingly talented couple, and they present really a beautiful picture on the ice. Very long legs, both of them very tall, 5'6" and 6'1". And this is a smooth tango.
By the way, the scores for Cantoy and Peel, the previous couple on the ice, 4.6 up to 5.0 for composition. In the range for presentation, 4.7 up to 5.1.
Just look how nice and close they are. Very soft dance. That was really wonderful to see. I mean, that was a dance. And that's what this event is all about. Dancing. Pure skating. No hiding behind unbelievably difficult athletic moves.
Naomi Lang and Peter Chernayshev in 5th place heading into the original dance.
Now, look at this slow motion. I mean, look at the elegance of the line and the turnover. I mean, that's really very, very attractive. That's what it's all about, doing a tango. And that's what this is. And this is a continental tango, which means it's not so male-dominated. The two of them together really create a lovely picture.
Well, he was at the Nationals a year ago in San Jose with a different partner, and is married to Natalia Anenko,
who's there on the left.
Yeah.
And she's been seen in the Challenge of Champions on Wide World of Sports many a time. Wonderful skater in her own right.
5.3.
First trip to the Nationals for Naomi Lang in terms of seniors competition. Their marks 5.1 up to 5.5 for composition.
5.4 and 5.
And speaking also of the number of skaters that come to this country, Natalia Dubova on the right is also from Russia and teaching in Lake Placid, and one of the most important coaching influences.
Yuseva and Zulin, the 93 world champions.
5.4, 5.2, 5.
And the march for presentation 5.1 up to 5.6.
5.5, 5.4, 5.1. 5.5 and 5.6.
And here are 20-year-old Debbie Cagle and 24-year-old Oleg Fedukov.
She represents the Charter Oak Figure Skating Club.
In 6th place after the compulsory dances.
Now, just to keep the family going, they are coached by Genrich Shutensky, the former partner of the previous couple's teacher, Nichols. And Oleg Fedukov is also from Russia and has been brought to America to partner and is doing very well.
Now lives in Boston. Debbie Cagle from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Remember, this is the original dance portion of the ice dancing competition. It counts for 30% of the overall scores. The free dance you can catch Sunday afternoon on ABC's Wide World of Sports, beginning at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And the free dance counts for 50% of the overall score. Men's finals on Sunday afternoon as well on Wide World.
And these are very expressive knee movements here. In fact, both of them are expressive ice dancers. This is a very powerful dance.
On to our coverage of the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships. Along with Dick Button, I'm Terry Gannon. This is the original dance portion of the ice dancing competition. Elizabeth Punsalan and Chernayshev Swallow lead at this point. They are the 3-time and reigning U.S. champions. But on the ice right now, a couple that almost gave up before finishing 7th at last year's Nationals, Demkowski and Greg Matalon. And much like last year, they are in 7th place after the compulsory dances. Dick, you were talking about how physically demanding it is, but it's not only the individual performance, but in ice dancing, you actually have to take the ice 4 times. There are 2 compulsory dances, the original dance, and then the free dance. That's not true in the other disciplines.
dances are great fun. This one happens to be a rather simple dance in comparison to the rest of the performers that we've seen here so far. That was a tricky turnaround and final position, but it didn't have a great deal of passion or communication between the partners, and I think that will somewhat hurt them.
Well, this is their third trip to the U.S. Nationals. A year ago, they finished 7th. They were in 7th place after the compulsory dances. Demkowski and Matalon.
Okay, now look at this slow motion and this freezed position right there, the edge of her body. Isn't that nice? The lean there. That's what skating is all about. A lean of the body, deep edges. Of course, it's very hard to continue those edges all the way around. But right at this particular section, they're doing a very nice job of it. Here, look at the complication of this footwork. And don't think it's not easy to trip on each other's feet. It is.
Yes.
Well, they finished 7th a year ago.
Yeah.
And speaking of 7th, Matalon, the 7th of 13 children in his family. So he's learned how to compete for attention.
4.9.
And for food on the table, I would imagine, at dinner time.
4.9.
Their marks for composition, 4.8 up to 5.1.
4.9. 4.7. 4.8.
Punsalan and Swallow lead this event. They have already competed in the original dance.
And their marks.
Cheryl and Greg almost gave up before competing last year in San Jose, but their 7th place finish encouraged them, and here they are once again. They're marked for a presentation 4.6 up to 5.1.
4.9 and 5.1.
And on the ice right now, the last couple of the original dance. In 3rd place, right behind Shalom and Gates and Punsalan and Swallow, heading into this original dance. 18-year-old Kate Robinson and 27-year-old Peter Breen.
Skating Club in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Please welcome Kate Robinson and Peter Breen.
Look at the length of their legs. This is a wonderfully sexy, sensual, and very slinky tango.
And Breen were 4th at last year's Nationals, and since then they've relocated to Detroit to train with Igor Spielban, the coach of Punsalan and Swallow, and Shalom and Gates. So Igor Spielban coaching the top 3 couples in this competition.
He is 6'1", she's 5'6". That makes these long, drawn-out edges most attractive. It's hard to believe she's 17 years old. They're really quite wonderful dancers. They're beautiful. They really have a good technique. Their positions are wonderful. It's kind of hard for them to create the effect of a tango when we're so used to the dark, male-dominated Argentinian look. But look at this replay where you can really see the length of their legs and the quality of style and position that they give. Look at the stretch that she gets there, that wraparound, very effective. The blonde hair sort of runs counter to the tango look. But isn't that very attractive looking? And here you can see the emotion that she has garnered for this dance. The turns, the fast turns. Their steps are not as quick as some of the others. The simple reason that they are a different quality and style of skater.
But all of that emotion and just the aesthetic look, very important in ice dancing with the judges as well.
5.2.
And now their marks
5.3.
for composition.
5.5.
And incidentally, their coach there on the left, Igor Spielban, another one of the Russians that have come to this country on the teaching side of the sport.
And very successful.
Yes.
And we mentioned the top 3 couples in this competition, coached by Igor Spielban.
And being the Russian influence being wonderful in this country on ice dancing. On the ice dancing
Now
scene.
their marks for presentation.
Well, they were in 3rd place heading into this original dance, right behind Shalom and Gates and Punsalan and Swallow.
5.5.
And Punsalan and Swallow still the leaders.
5.3.
The marks for presentation, 5.3 up to 5.6 for Kate Robinson and Peter Breen. So here's the way things look after the original dance. Don't forget the free dance comes up Sunday afternoon starting at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Punsalan and Swallow may be on their way to capturing their 4th national title. They'll have to fend off the challenge of Shalom and Gates and Robinson and Breen. Right now, our own Leslie Visser is with the leaders in the Kiss and Cry area. Leslie?
Thanks, Terry. Well, it's not much of a surprise, but very much a pleasure to watch these two. You are the overwhelming favorites to defend your title, but maybe you could talk about Jared or Liz, how you've improved the last year.
Well, I think what we've worked on mostly, Leslie, are the techniques in our skating that help our flow. And I think the edge flow, the expression, that's another thing. The expression is something we've really focused on. This is what's going to make us competitive in the World Championships. And these are one of the main focuses for us this year.
Liz, you are married. How does your relationship off the ice enhance your skating?
Well, Jared and I are so comfortable with each other. We can just give each other a glance or a look, and that's all the communication we need. So it's really quite easy to skate together and very comfortable for us.
Well, the top 3 teams are coached by the same man, Igor Spielban. Is that ever a time management problem for you?
I think they've been very smart about breaking up the day for the 3 teams, and we all get enough lesson time, and he's done very well with it. So.
Well, it shows. Congratulations so far. Back to you, Terry.
All right, Leslie, thank you. Still much more skating yet to come. Last year in San Jose, Jenny Mino and Todd Sand completed a 3-peat. This year they go for number 4. We'll have the short program of the pairs competition when we return to Nashville.